Good evening, Vicksburg, to our regular council session tonight, Monday, February 20th, 2023. We'll call this meeting to order. Well, if you would please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a quick moment of silence here while we gather our thoughts. And if you would, Christian, please do a roll call.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Reister.
Here.
Trustee Fields. Trustee Holmes.
Here.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here. Full council tonight. Thank you all for being here. So we have an agenda in front of us tonight. Jim, was there any late additions or last minute corrections?
There is not. I'll have an additional information on the village manager's report dealing with legislation coming out of the state.
Does council have any comments or additions they'd like to add? Hearing none, we have an agenda in front of us. What's this council's desire? So moved.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, support by Trustee Reister. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We have an agenda in front of us. There's no scheduled appearances for public officials tonight. This will take us to citizens' comments for agenda items only. You'll have another opportunity at the end of this meeting to speak on non-agenda items, but if there's an agenda item anyone would like to address, this is the time to do it, please. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on. We do have tonight a scheduled appearance, Mr. Steve Mann, a village attorney, referencing bonding, and Jason Wassler, reference the Sprinkle Road project update. And thank you, gentlemen, for both being. Jason.
Just so we're all on the same page, we'll first go with Jason Wassler, who's a vice president of Prime Newhoff. We were asked at the last meeting, and it's interesting as Jason and I talked about this over the last week. We started prepping the Sprinkle Road project in 2019, 4 years ago. So it even refreshed our memory of the early steps, but Jason made himself available tonight. So he's gonna give a brief history of what's taken place, what motivated the attention on Sprinkle Road, the design of it, and the long-term impact it'll have on the village opportunity. And again, Jason is a vice president with Prime Newhoff, and been very, very fortunate to work with them. So, Jason, can you hear me? We might go to Steve Mann. Well, just a second, I just gotta get Jason back into panelist mode. So I think Jason will come back up. We'll remind our top 10 viewing audience that we're doing this as a small village of a staff of 2. So there's Jason. I see Jason, so we'll get him down mute. Can you hear us, Jason? I do not see if he's... Raise your hand if you can hear me, Jason. Raise your hand, Michelle, if you can hear me. All right, we're gonna...
There he is.
Go ahead, Jason. I know what it is. We've got 2 new computers. One is on speaker mode, so I'm gonna try this, Jason. I guarantee you they heard that.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Give me just 1 second here, Will.
enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, you have entered the meeting as a panelist. Attendees can now hear you speak. This meeting is being recorded.
Does anybody know any good dance moves?
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just tried to use my phone audio because for some reason my computer audio is not working.
Yeah, I jumped on my phone. I think that was, I had Norman try to change it. Sure, they can hear you.
Okay,
I will.
okay. Sorry about that.
I just introduced you as the vice president, and we talked about Sprinkle Road, so.
Okay. Good evening, council members. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Computers make things easy until they don't. All right, I can see you guys moving. I can't hear anything on that end. So,
Good comeback. My mic is on.
Jason, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, I can when I switch. Yeah, can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, let me just move the microphone. It could be. Go ahead and talk, and we'll see if the mic will pick it up.
Yeah, can you hear me now, Jim?
I can. I'll try and get it so the council will be able to hear you.
I can hear you.
Go ahead and test 1 through 10, Jason, for me.
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
That was good. Good enough.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Thanks.
Great. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. So my understanding, going way back to when we did the SAW grant project for the village, analyzing the stormwater and the wastewater systems. I apologize for that, but back in like say 2015-ish, and from that report, spawned several projects, one of which we finished or close to being finished with upgrades to your water and your stormwater and your wastewater systems. And one of the projects that was identified back then that we had started on the same time frame as your downtown was improving the wastewater connection portage transport system down Sprinkle Road. The plan was at that time the existing gravity system road, and also to replace sections of force main along Sprinkle Road to upgrade part of your system, which is very critical, of course. It's the connection to get the wastewater. That project was put on hold because your current agreement, which you still haven't bridge, dates back to 2004, their system, and without increasing that or changing that agreement, um, been in peak flows. And so we put that on hold, and obviously there's a lot of growth that's going on in the village over the last several years, and your population has grown, and there's lots of positive activity. But the residential development future flows on your wastewater system. Portage, we have not, I don't, to replace the force, their trunk sewer. Um, through those efforts, we were able to secure a grant in the amount of just shy of $4 million. So we got a grant from the EDA, and to complete, it's about an $11 million project. And to complete the funding for that in town, and that was for a 40-year loan at 2% interest for about $7 million. So the main purpose for the project is, I guess it's two different. Both would be, I guess, strength. Flow amount currently in your agreement from 2004, and so this will provide. Well, we'll have to enter into. And that's where this project came from. This project does is it addresses some. I guess the other thing I should say, this also is going to water and sewer authority.
Yes, if the council has questions, we might have to interpret it, but if you use your mic, it should come through. And Jason, I'll count on you. If you can't hear, either say or raise a hand. And
Thank you, Jim. Yes.
Jason, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Holmes, I appreciate the background. It's very helpful, especially understanding why we need this project. And I think that's the part for me that I didn't understand 2 weeks ago, and that you helped fill in that gap. And bottom line is we're at capacity is what it sounds like. Is that just a real direct way of looking at it?
Capacity in the sewer system.
Okay. That's the point I wanted to clarify. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I fully understood why we need to do this project, because I think for me at least that was important knowing, or clarifying at least. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that too a little bit, if I could, Jim. We've been looking at, as part of our and there is a section of pipe, so this is going to be about 27,000. Part of that force main is only 20 years old or so. I don't know, 2005, so maybe even a little less than 20 years old. looking at trying to use in the system and not have to replace that part. Station and the pipe for the force main, we have to figure out what the optimum may not only today but then also. So it's a pretty delicate process to that it not only serves the village today but also long term. And one of the alternatives may be that we that 3,900 feet of pipe that's only 18 years old and use it for in that development of the system to replace that before your flows have got to the point where we
Yes, please, Jason.
Jason, it's trustee Holmes again. None of us can look in the past and know why people made decisions they did, but I think that's just a question that I think is fair to ask, and that is, if you were to look back 18 years ago to 2004, why would the diameter of pipe that's in the ground be used? Was it for historically the village was stagnant, it wasn't growing? Did we hit a growth spurt in the last 18 years? Obviously, we realize there were some developments that have come on. I understand that. Just looking for your perspective from an engineer with what historical data you know. Again, we know these pipes last or are good for what, 60, 70 years. And again, we're confounded with a situation as we were last year, or actually a year before, 2 years ago, thank you, where we're digging pipe out of the ground that's still usable, but again, we're up against a capacity issue. And so, again, any perspective you have would be appreciated.
Yeah, of course, I don't know what the previous consultants, what process they went through inside. You know, that's one thing that we try to do is and try to make informed decisions so that it gets to see its full life cycle. Looking at the population growth in the village, just to give you some numbers, I have it in front of me. In 1980, the population of Vicksburg was a little over 2,200. In 2000, that went up to 2,300. 10, so these are 10-year increments. And then in 2020, it went to. So we had several decades of basically no growth, and then over a 20-year period, we went up here for more than 50%, so close to 60%, let's say. So in 2020, we were at 3,700, and now we're at 3,900. So that's pretty significant growth. Some stagnation there in population, and now so that's the big part of it. Again, I can't really speak for how they sized it before. It's unfortunate that in 20 years that, you know, I think if we were going to Zyalman with the force main, Owens probably would serve you for 40 years. And who knows, maybe with the flows, if we do have population slow down, and if we can make that, it might serve you for 20 years, yeah.
I think one impact variable is a good portion of that pipe that was put in the ground, I think goes back to 79 or 80, I believe, but prior to the industrial park even being developed here in Vicksburg, which was, I think 97 was the start of the industrial park. So that would have been growth that potentially wasn't factored in. But I would support what Jason said first. We just don't know what the engineering group, how much they dug into it, and to the variable that happened in 2000 was when that section of pipe Jason spoke about was put in, was South Kalamazoo County came with pipes out to TU Avenue, so that's what impacted then, I believe, the most.
Hey, Jason, it's trustee Keller. Project goes, how long is this project gonna run? Timeline from turning dirt until complete? And then the follow-up, you talked about population and that. How, have you forecasted out how long this system will last and what the maximum, I mean, are you forecasting like the population? Are you looking at, say, Vicksburg doubling in population that it'll handle capacity up to that?
We have looked at full build out for the village, so all the areas that we have on our map. Jim, if you'd like me to, that's a colored map that shows all the areas.
I'm ready to bring it up on a shared screen, just give me a second. Can you see it? I just brought it up.
Yeah, so really all of the colored areas, blue, those are all the areas that we're including for the village of Vicksburg. We have those shown in the upper right-hand corner, existing flow. The second box is what we call proposed flows, which is really short-term development occurring and increasing our flows, and that being the mill, and a lot of that development in the northwest part of town. The full build-out flow, so that includes Barton Lake, the Spruce Street Industrial area that's shown in blue there, and any other area that's got kind of a diagonal hatch through. Those are all. You know, we don't want to overdo it, but we also as we can. One thing that we need to make sure that since this loan from rural development is a 40-year loan, they 40-year planning window, so become obsolete before that loan is paid off. We went through several iterations on this map. Some of that was caused by just the mill being a moving target, not knowing exactly what flows we were going to receive from them. Their consultant changed their numbers. One of our first versions of this was dramatically higher, and once we over probably a 6-month period, those were way too high, and so we've got them a little bit more realistic. So and the projected flows that this system needs to be able to handle over the next 40 years. So we feel pretty comfortable with the flow numbers.
So basically, we're covered, is what you're saying, in layman's terms. We're okay. How long is this project going to take from cradle to grave?
Outside the roadway, down Sprinkle Road, we have some improvements to do at the
And if we're on, I believe, the interest rate we have locked in at 2%, which is a historic low. But we're now at the final design, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, right now I believe we're prepped to go to bid this calendar year for dual construction season. We have until December of 25 that $3.66 million grant. We'll need to be use that funding. But can you take them through when we anticipate at a high level right now, when we'd be out to bid on this project? And I believe we'll post it as well, that the lift station, people will have the ability to bid on just the lift station work and the pipe work and together, which should bring more bidders. But go ahead, Jason.
Jim, is to have this design ready. Hopefully in the third quarter, if not the fourth quarter of this year. And then the EDA grant, as you said, July 20 of 24. We are able to apply for an extension if we need to. So if we had this if all goes well, we'll be
Jim has, Jason's reference to capacity, future capacity, take into account anything that may be coming from the mill?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
we're based on, the latest figures they gave us. Now, those figures are 18 months, maybe 24 months. And we'll have specific, the connection fee for both water and sewer. In the mill, leadership realizes this has to be finalized before they're even on the system. But that'll all be calculated, with Prime Newhoff. And then, our advisors on that are also, Warner Norcross with Jared Belka and Lance Zorloff.
Questions?
No, thank you, Jason. I know you have kids at home and family activities, so I appreciate you making yourself available tonight. Though you tested my IT capabilities. So, all right, and if we're good with Jason, like I said, he's home with his kids, so if he wants to bump off, and then we'll turn it over to Steve Mann.
Yeah, Jason, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
thank you everyone. Have a
All right, Steve, now we get to give it a go with you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, Jim. Hello, council.
Yeah, and I'll let, Steve is a long time with Miller Canfield. He goes back quite a bit with the village of Vicksburg, I think at least 2013, if not before. Many of you know the name Kurt McCammon with Miller Canfield, and Kurt is one step closer to full retirement. So Steve has been instrumental not only in bond issues and making sure we stay on task and a timeline, but we utilize Steve in some updating ordinances that will be coming in front of the council, as well as Steve actually has a background as a law enforcement officer. So we used Steve for some advice in the updated contract with our officers. So he's very, very talented and valuable resource to the village. So I'll turn it over to you now, Steve, to talk about the resolution.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. So you have a resolution before you, which is basically a 4-page resolution, and there's a page 5. And this resolution ties to the USDA loan, which Jason just spoke about, in the amount of just over $6.9 million. Although USDA calls it a loan program, the village borrows money through the issuance of bonds. The village will go through the process of issuing bonds, and at closing, USDA will purchase those bonds, and then during the construction process, provide up to $6.9 million to fund your project. So the first step in issuing bonds is the resolution that you have before you tonight, and this resolution does two things. First, and most that notice appears in section 2, which should be on page 3 of your resolution. Your adoption, your village clerk will publish this notice one time, and that'll start a 45-day referendum period. If interested citizens wanted to, they could circulate referendum petitions to try and force the question of issuing the bond. Do that, especially with water and sewer projects, usually more so with politically controversial. Go through the process and publish this bond notice. The resolution is on page 4 in section 4, and that is to make declarations that say that the extent the village spends money on certain hard costs, we need to order some pipe or something that's a long lead time item, before we get to USDA closing, we spend some of our own money. This protects us once we do get to loan closing. That's the two purposes for the resolution, and I'm happy to answer any questions. As far as the bonding process, it'll take a pause after this step until the project is bid out for construction. We know the actual cost. Then we'll come back to the village council with another the issuance of the bonds and have some more specifics in there as to payment dates, things like that.
So if the council's aware what Steve's gonna talk about is this fall, after we get the bid and the actual numbers, it will still come back for council approval by majority. So this tonight is just a procedural step that we keep on task and publish this out.
Yes, Woody.
Hi, Steve, it's trustee Holmes. Hi, as we were just talking with Jason, on one side, it would appear that, and again, I'm not the finance guru, it appears you former police officers are, so that's good to see. But I guess when we look at finances regarding this deal, there's both two ways of looking at it. One is the loan, we got locked in at 2%. I've got to imagine with a bond, though, we're gonna be offering higher interest rates due to the fact of the current market. Would that be a correct assumption?
Well, if you were issuing bonds on the current the rate would be much higher than 2%. But USDA's program, the loan program, when you're approved for a loan at the on, the interest rate as the current interest rate for that quarter. That the U.S. government changes interest rates on its loan programs each quarter. So your loan is obligated for $6.9 million at 2% for a 40-year term. So it will not go higher. What does happen during better interest rate environments is once you get, after you bid your project out, once you get the loan closed, if USDA's current interest rate that quarter is lower, they'll actually give you a lower rate, but they won't give you a rate higher than 2. So you're locked in at 2%.
Okay, I lost you there, and I apologize. It was my jabbering. Can you tell me, when we issue a bond, we're going to be offering an interest rate with it that will pay those that participate? That's correct?
Yes, that's right. So USDA is going to actually purchase the bond.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand
Yeah,
that.
so you'll pay USDA interest.
Okay, my misunderstanding. I thought it was the way we were doing it, I thought it was a public notice bond is what I thought it was.
No, our payments will go to the USDA, and again, Steve's more versed in this than I, but the USDA in that quarter, so they're not only going out with the 6.9 from Vicksburg, this is United States wide, and we're probably, because of the ARPA money in that, it very well could be in that quarter in the hundreds of millions of dollars that they went out for.
Thank you. My misunderstanding was that if you release a bond, then it's a bond to the market that anybody can participate in. I didn't know that the USDA was actually going to be the holder of the bond, and not the village.
Yeah, through this program, USDA
Right.
actually is the holder. You pay them over the term of the bond.
Steve might have got you thinking down a different road, and you said earlier that if this was contested and forced to a vote, did I understand that right? That could be pushed to a bond, and then we would be not locked in to this lower interest rate. We would be committed to whatever the current rate would be. So it's always a possibility. Am I correct in that, Steve?
Well, no, you'd still have USDA's obligation if it delayed the project enough. Once USDA does have a 5-year requirement that once you're obligated, you have to close within 5 years. You're still well within that period. They obligated this money in June of last year, so you have a few years left.
Right.
It would delay the project though if referendum petitions were received and they were valid and sufficient. Then you'd have to put the question of let the voters decide. That would delay the project and delay bids.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions of Mr. Mann while we have him on?
What that could impact is the $3.66 million we received from the EDA, in which this needs to start June of '24. But I think this is keeping us on task, and
Yes, agreed.
fairly proud of where we are on this project. And Steve does this quite a bit throughout the state of Michigan, and we've brought it up before, but to make note of it, it's unique. A village our size receiving $3.66 million from the EDA on this improvement. So
Well, we're in a position that is not enviable in the sense that, as we all know, we've faced some criticism on our water and sewer bills, but we're faced with an ever-growing population. People want to be here, people want to live here and set up industry and businesses. So I don't want to be that guy that I was cursing out when we had to spend the money to replace the force main on 22nd Street from a lack of planning and foresight and doing it on the cheap. So we put ourselves in a position to win and be successful in this, and it's just in our hands now. So we have this,
President Frisbee, if I could,
sir,
I really appreciate those comments, because I think all of us up here truly are aware of the discussion with residents regarding water rates. I mean, none of us are oblivious to that, and so we're all looking for the best path forward. I wanted to share with my fellow trustees that, quite candidly, if it wasn't for the really well process that's been documented, the foresight of the village manager and the consultants that we're using, if it really wasn't for how well we are addressing this very systematically, I would vote against this tonight. But I can in my heart vote against this, because in looking at if we say no to this, and to your point, we're simply kicking the can down the road and hoping for best case scenario and good luck next councils to resolve this problem. So I just wanted to share those comments with my fellow trustees and let everyone know that I know all of you feel as I do that this is a serious matter that we're considering, and it's nothing that none of us are taking lightly.
If I could.
yes, please.
So to echo into the same vein as Trustee Holmes has just shared, I think the responsibility we're all faced with is that we're not making the decision financially now for the best interest of necessarily present residents, but we're looking to the future 40 and more years to make sure we have a healthy infrastructure, that we are financially sound, and that we're trying to take into account as much data and information as possible to get us there. And it's not always the cheapest road, and in fact, as you've already alluded to, the cheapest road got us to a few costly replacements. So we need to be really diligent in the fact that we are making the best infrastructure for ourselves to be successful into the future, and that these are going to be worthwhile improvements. So I think that's absolutely what we're all looking for, is to make the best investment we possibly can for the best product we can get for all those expected outcomes that Jason was there to highlight. So
Just And so that, I mean, council members here know this, people in the audience know this, people that might be watching and hopefully know this, we pay those rates as well. So, you know, we're not immune from them. And honestly, all the rate increases that are going on in communities all around us, I mean, my former hometown where I was born and raised, I call on them the DPW, and I was informed that there's a family of 5 there that's paying $250 a month for water and sewer. And they have a water treatment plant in town. So, you know, water and sewer rates throughout the state are an issue. Not just here in Vicksburg, we just happen to be ahead of the curve a little bit in realizing that we were woefully underfunded. But, you know, just so everybody understands, we pay those rates too. We understand. But it's, you know, this is for the health of the village, the vitality of the village moving forward. And, you know, it'll be that way for the next 40, 50 years.
You did take into account the $3.66 million that EDA gave us to go forward on this. You know, now is the time to take an opportunity to use that. That money isn't thrown around. It's not like the CARES Act and ARPA. I mean, that was a fund that's been competed against throughout the country. As I said earlier, we had a economic development advisor reach out to me from Hayden, Idaho, congratulating us on that award. So, you know, there's a lot of competing municipalities after that money, and we were very fortunate. And I think they looked at us and understand our capabilities, understand our administrative abilities to pay their bills and look forward and plan. So I think we were successful with the leadership we have in this village right now. Were there any other questions for Mr. Mann? Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you for being here tonight with us. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
If the council sees fit, staff is recommending a motion of support on the motion in support of the resolution, and then a roll call vote. And the motion or the resolution is into the record. If we waive reading it, or if you want the clerk to read it, is your choice.
Trustee Wagner, I'll make the motion that we accept and approve Resolution 022-02023-01, authorizing publication of notice of intent to issue revenue bonds and declaration of intent to reimburse.
Trustee Fields, I support.
Motion made by Trustee Wagner and support by Trustee Fields. Would you do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Fields, President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you all.
And likewise, Steve, I know you're busy. I really appreciate you being flexible on this night meeting, but thank you, and we understand if you sign off.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Steve.
have a great night.
We have a consent agenda in front of us, our minutes from our last session, February 6, 2023. We have warrant reports in the total of $124,881.70. Event request for the Hardy Hustle, the Bird Days of Summer. That's going to be an exciting program, and we'll let Jim speak to that a little bit later. And there was no correspondence. Everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes. Any questions, comments, corrections? Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Trustee Wagner, I move to approve as submit.
Support.
Motion made by Trustee Wagner, support by Trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. So we have some action items in front of us tonight. We have 2022, 2023, a few budget amendments. Jim, you want to run with it?
Yes, first council action item under 10A. It's an amendment that's related to 10B and 10C.
involving a DPW pickup truck. As the council's aware, just like we did in January, we assigned money from previous fiscal years for future projects in our capital improvement plan. What we made a decision in 2017 as part of the DPW equipment and their need for at minimum 3 pickup trucks, that we would space out those pickup truck purchases every 5 years. So you'd have a new one, 5 years old, 10 years old. Then when we go to update a pickup truck, they'll be 5 years old, 10, and the 15-year-old one will be rotated out. So we, the current fleet is a 2008 pickup truck that was originally assigned to Angels Crossing, a 2011 DPW truck, and then we purchased one in 2018. So this purchase will be a, though it's a, not to confuse people, it's fiscal year 23. So 5 years, and our next one after this is scheduled for 2028. And again, we'll have the 5 years to save up money. We came pretty close to projecting the cost 5 years ago when we set up the CIP. Right now, we believe the pickup truck, and we've tried for 9 months through My Deals to secure, but with supply chain and issues there, we were able to utilize Cole Crumb's local dealership and under a municipality, got the General Motors to accept it. And we believe the final price will be between the $50,000 and $53,000. So we're pretty close there. One thing is we utilize these trucks in the winter to plow our non-motorized trailways, our parking lots, cul-de-sacs, and alleys. And the plow package, we're recommending also to replace the 2008 plow. And that's what came out to, and I have the quote there, a little over 10,000. So this first is a budget amendment because we had placed $50,000 in the 22-23 fiscal year for the purchase of a DPW pickup truck, which the council approved. Now that we've gone out to bid, secured the bids, and added the plow truck, we're asking for the amendment to be 15,000 and above, and though it'll still come out of CIP money, so we're not going to use this fiscal year's money. We'll just use another DPW code. So I'll be happy to answer any questions on that. And I think I said 15, it's actually 16, so that it should be the 16,000, because, and it's gonna be an amount not to exceed $66,000 for the purchase of the pickup truck and plow. And we'll get to the more details in B and C of the agenda on those specific prices, but this is for the budget amendment, so staff can make those moves in the budget. It'll just save us one step in the third or fourth quarter.
Any questions on that list? We have a request from the staff to amend that budget up by $16,000. Is this council's desire?
So moved.
Trustee Wagner, support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, support by Trustee Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Geller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you. On item 10B, it is for a Chevrolet pickup truck that'll be assigned to the Department of Public Works. It's replacing a 2008 Chevy pickup truck.
it is to approve the village manager to enter into a contract to order a 2024 Chevrolet 2500 work truck for an amount not to exceed $55,000. And it's our recommendation for a motion, support, and approval for the village manager to enter into this contract. Again, not to confuse, but that's the model year that General Motors is building right now. We anticipate that if we do put this order in tomorrow, that we'll be in receipt of the truck about the first week of June.
Hey, Jim, what's gonna be the dispensation of the 2008 truck?
We're actually going to keep that for a bit, we're watching and tracking the repair cost on both the 08 and 11. But if we take receipt of the new truck in June, we'll probably have that 08 going into just before the winter, when we think its prime value on resale with the plow would be at its height.
Well, I think this is a rather good price, having just cut an order for a 3,500 at almost $80,000. This is a pretty reasonable price for a new.
It is an advantage, being a municipality, and this is a no-thrills pickup truck, vinyl
Well,
seats, one, it's not a crew cab or anything like that. But being a municipality, we're fortunate where we get a break from GM as well as not having to pay taxes.
So we have a request from the village manager and enter into this contract not to exceed $55,000 to replace the 2008 Chevy pickup.
Motion support?
Holmes, I second.
Motion made by trustee Fields, support by trustee Holmes. We'll do a roll call, please, Kristen.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much. 10C is the plowing apparatus. As you can see, that we do have a quote from Steamsmas under a municipal purchasing plan. If this plow truck retails to the public for $13,500, our total cost will be $10,176. It is a Western snow plow, and we're recommending a motion support and approval to be able to purchase that. And once the truck arrives, it will head out to Steamsmas and put this on. They have 3 of these units left, and they're anticipating a 6% increase. That's why we decided to put the plow now, even though we know we won't have it on a truck until June. So hopefully it doesn't snow in June.
Any questions or discussion you'd like to have?
President Frisbee, I'd just like to say, you've reached a certain age when you look at the price of a truck and you realize at one time that's what a house cost. So,
Not too long ago. Well, we have a request in front of us to authorize the expenditure of $10,176 for the new plow. What would this council like to do?
Trustee Wagner, I'll move to approve the purchase of the plow for the new work truck.
Trustee Reister, support?
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Reister. We do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Olson,
yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries. So we also have a request in front of us from, to use some of the ARPA funds for the water main lead line replacements project 2. I'll let him speak.
Yeah,
to
this is a formal, council action request, that will upload in to the USDA system for the lead line replacement that internally we describe as Project Two. This is for the entire neighborhood north of the middle school. So we need to, though we have internally, and we have discussed utilizing those ARPA funds to offset any potential impact on utility rates. We need a formal motion, support, and approval that the $366,000, it has the council approval to be used in that lead line and project that's titled Project Two for the USDA. And we'll upload that tomorrow morning, and then we'll secure the interest rates in the current quarter.
When do you think the construction would kick off on that?
That is in the design phase, and I would anticipate this calendar year bid process in the fall. It'll be in the same procedures would occur before it that occurred tonight. With that $366,000 is tied to the $1.2 million grant we received from Kalamazoo County. It's a $4.1 million project with grant money being at just over $1.5 million of that. So we would anticipate probably July having Steve Mann return and going through that process. But bidding, it would be this calendar year with construction being in 24. And that could be one that we offer 24 and 25 construction time, because again, that grant money has to be used by December 31st of 25.
Any questions of staff? Any comments? We have a request to utilize that $366 into. What's what I said? Okay, I was thinking thousand.
President Frisbee,
Yes, sir.
since it's my side of town, I move as submitted that we allow the ARPA funds of $366,000 to be used for the lead line replacements for the north side of the village from the middle school.
Trustee Wagner, as support.
Motion made by trustee Keller, support by trustee Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. That moves us on to village manager report.
Thank you very much. Under, as was in the consent agenda, we have been meeting now since early in December to plan activities in our downtown area. We had 5 different events last summer, and then the October 150-year celebration, the Christmas in the Village, and then February 11th, the Iceberg Festival. And it's pretty overwhelming, the positive impact that these events are having on our retail stores, restaurants, and just general atmosphere and vibe of the village. Would highlight that in all of these events, anywhere from 2,000 to 8,000 people have been in the core of our downtown. And we try to set them up in a way that is family friendly, safe, and in all of these events, we to date have not had an alcohol related incident. And we debrief after them. We've gone from thinking 10 extra trash receptacles were enough to 22. We had close to 40 in February, and we very well might have more as we move on to the future. But motivated by that, how do we create in 2023, making our village relevant and for people to come and experience, if only motivated by curiosity of what's going on. So I put a work group together of 5 individuals that I've been meeting with, and predominantly led by staff in the village, but I'm very appreciative of the individuals I have providing advice and guidance, and at times actual making contacts. The request tonight in front of the council is we have always committed to seeking your approval before submitting a grant. Too often prior to this staff, grant money was spoken about and then quite often never received. So tonight's actual request is for your approval to submit a grant in the amount of $20,000 that would be matched. Now, how that is we're anticipating having a working budget for the events, which would be 9 Wednesdays between June 14th and August 16th. It would not include July 5th. So it'd be 9 out of 10 Wednesdays for different activities, and I'll list those off. An additional $10,000 would be used in conjunction with the Vicksburg Cultural Arts. So we're looking at submitting a grant request for $20,000 that the village, I'll present to the DDA and through the fiscal year budget process, ultimately for council approval, to utilize $15,000 to match with the DDA. That gap, $5,000, if the grant's awarded, will be used in conjunction with the Vicksburg Cultural Arts. Is someone getting that feedback?
No, you're good.
All right. The Vicksburg Cultural Arts, to find matching, there's grant opportunities that will come in and use that $5,000 to be a match for that in the programs. So part of what we have set up conceptually is we go ahead and as we have in the past, cone off parking spots as we're prepping. The streets would be closed at 4:30 and set up between 4:30 and 5:30. So we would have a variety of food trucks, 5 or 6. We would have activities for families that include inflatable obstacle courses for kids. That would probably be where the tent was for the Iceberg Festival. I've got 4 companies supplying bids on those. We would have music, live music on Main Street and Prairie Street. Those have all been secured, and we're prepped with contracts to offer 18 artists the week of March 10th, when we should get word on this grant. We also have a component, and the details will be all worked out well before probably May 1st, but we want to make it a community to the Village of Vicksburg community. So we're looking at identifying, we will self-identify as a staff 9 nonprofits that we know have a very positive impact on the citizens of the Village of Vicksburg, and we'll offer them an opportunity, 1 per event night, to have fundraising opportunities. A couple ideas that we received quotes on is to provide a blind disco event where people would pay. There'd be up to 100 people that would wear individual headphones and might be listening to different music and dancing to the varying different music as a fundraiser. Traditional dunk tanks, a spinning thing, and there's been some creative ideas coming out, but just to add a community component. The cultural arts would focus again on family activities, hands-on crafts, and arts. So it's not all finalized, but it's well on its way. And again, it's motivated to get people in our downtown. We've secured, I think, 4 letters from businesses downtown with an anticipation of another 6 or 8 I'll receive before submitting the grant. That's a positive thing. And again, just to put Vicksburg, continue the progress we've made to have people downtown. So tonight's specific request is a motion in support and approval for us to submit that grant.
Your packet tonight, there's a letter drafted by Alicia Sievers, the executive director. She, Gilbert and Ivy also in support of this, right? This has just been a wonderful, wonderful result from these events we're having, and I'm sure I'll steal Jim's thunder, and he's probably had more conversations with the business owners than I have, but I was told by 2 of them it was their best record sales day during the Iceberg Fest, February 11th. So we continue that. We're going to draw other businesses to the downtown area. It's going to help pay our taxes, our water bills, and take the burden off a lot of the residents. So, and it makes it a fun place to live.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, some of the advice we've gotten, and we've met with Kalamazoo Institute of Arts and others to capitalize on marketing opportunities through their marketing. If we get it submitted, and what we've identified is the performers are all outside of the village of Vicksburg, and some will be very named performers. So it will draw their crowds into our town. With, again, that's what we want. We want people to experience what Vicksburg has to offer, a family-oriented atmosphere, very walkable and placemaking, and of course Oswald Park being the center focus of it. But yeah.
Jim, always applaud the efforts when we bring, as you know, I've used the term private and public funds together and looking to make something bigger with groups than we could individually. One question: who gets the honor of the distinct honor of Berg Days of Summer?
Well,
You might be familiar.
I humbly, these things have to be titled by something, and I'm rolling at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And one night I just said, "Man, that has a catch ring to it. I'm running with it."
You're running with it? All right. I just, you're working on your MBA in marketing now. I love it. So, you know, you keep it up. I don't know what's next.
I liked how they did Iceberg. I use a lot of, I see another humble person in the room. Trustee Wagner must have had something to do with that. It might have been caught off camera, but.
My favorite slogan I've ever created.
All right. But we use it somewhat on social media, focused on the bird and that. And really motivated this stem from a conference I was at in Holland, Michigan this summer, had lengthy talks, had dinner with their city manager, and experienced 8th Street on a Thursday night in the summer in excess of 20,000 people at what they did. And then maybe a little Irish motivated because people doubted we could pull this off in Vicksburg. So it's like, but I'll save the rest for a presentation, the first meeting in May.
One thought. Put a mailbox in the village. Kids can put letters of Santa. Christmas in July, Christmas in December.
Yeah.
And what we do is we pick a dozen of those kids, and then Santa delivers a gift
There you
to
go.
those kids. That'd be kind of neat to come up with something like that.
It would be fun.
Yeah.
There we go. It will. I will say a lot of the conversation is this is the foundation. Motivated to put in for a grant. We're a small community. Very blessed. We've talked about the philanthropic, the tithing that goes on in this community, both from our business, industrial, and private citizen. So I wanted to look at an opportunity that these events, I would need no quote-unquote sponsorship. And what we accomplish this calendar year will set the stage for 24 and 25. And if we have to readjust as we move in the future, that possibility exists. But I really wanted to create where we didn't have to solicit for funds, especially from the businesses that we want impacted and benefited by these activities.
I was just gonna say that I really enjoyed going downtown on Saturday for the Iceberg Festival. And the thing that I found when I was down there, of course, the weather was perfect. You couldn't have asked for better weather. But the people, you're right, Jim, the people that were down there, even though we have a social district, you really didn't see a whole lot of, you saw families, you saw people enjoying themselves, and it was just really a very pleasant time to be down there. I really enjoyed it very, very much. So I'm glad that we're gonna continue this.
There's a pretty good conversation going on in the Michigan Municipal Executives listserv and communication. And statewide, the social districts are not having alcohol-related incidents. It's just as you described, whether it's Port Huron, Kalamazoo, these other larger municipalities, the smaller ones that took, put those in place, that it's families gathering and it just adds to an attraction to get people into your town and create economic vitality within the town.
And another thing that I thought was so neat is what the Hideaway has done with that big window in the front and that open window and people sitting on bar stools out there. It's just so hometown.
Yeah.
It just really was very fun.
One of our
You guys are gonna get me talking here, and we'll be here till midnight. But Jasper's too. I mean, and it really started. We'll save it till May. I'll get going. But there's a lot of positive things that multiple council members were involved in. In 2017, 18, 19, prepping decisions to make the investment into downtown to create walkable placemaking setting that you can safely hold these events. So, but again, we'll save more till May. For me, you guys can ask any questions you want.
I would like to highlight that those two of the businesses mentioned, Hideaway and Jasper's, were grant recipients for those improvements that they made. So they investing in the village and then seeing that return and that impact that it's made, I think that's part of the process right there. We should all be really excited for.
Yeah, agreed.
So back on this, if I can have, we're requesting and staff's recommending a motion, support, and approval for the village manager to submit a grant in the amount of $20,000 that will go through the budget process for to be matched, $15,000 coming from DDA funds, and the additional $5,000 will be other grant opportunities through the Vicksburg Cultural Arts Program.
President Presby,
Yes, sir.
I move as submitted.
Trustee Wagner, I support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, support by Trustee Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Fields, President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries. You have,
11B is again, approval to submit a grant for the second year of a property improvement program within our Downtown Development Authority. It's part of the 23-24 fiscal year budget prep, this will be the second year. It traditionally and historically was the facade grant that was limited to $2,500.
this grant opportunity, creates, higher amounts, that we used 15,7,500 and then a balance of the remaining. And, so this is to submit for the match money on the grant, so I can get that in. And both of these, if approved, will report back on March 20th if we receive the grant or not.
Well, this little bit of change in direction from the facade to the property improvement, and just reemphasize that it has to be an improvement to the public benefit as part of the requirement. So, and as you spoke to Trustee Wagner earlier, what has come from it, the two notable ones are the Hideaway and Jasper's, the windows, the walk-in, the seating, and was part of the last year's recipients. So I think this is gonna go over really well. I think we'll see a lot of continuation of that build out downtown. So we have a request by staff in front of us to enter into a request for a grant. Is this council's desire?
President Frisbee, I make a motion to approve as submitted.
Support?
Motion made by trustee Holmes, support by trustee Fields. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Fields, trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
The next item I'm adding, just to discuss with the council to know, it started Friday morning and then through the weekend as well as today. What has happened in the state legislation is, there originally was $750 million that was approved for communities with a pension fund 60% or under. There was an additional $250 million for communities with 60% or over to be able to solicit for and help local pension funds. Specific to the village of Vicksburg, not difficult decisions based on data at all, but hard decisions because they impacted employees of the village. We presented and supported that the village needed to focus in and could not long-term sustain a defined benefit pension program. At the time, if my memory serves me correct, we were about 63% funded, but it had gone down for the previous 8 years, I believe, pretty, had tracked where it was continuing to go down, and then we did a future analysis of what the impact would be in the cost. And it exceeded yearly cost of $200,000 and made compounding jumps into the future. So I think it was 2018, before that fiscal year, we presented to the council our recommendations that current employees would continue on the program, but non-police officers would be putting in 5% of their own pay to that defined benefit. But anyone hired after, I think it was July 1st of 2018, would be in a defined contribution program with fixed. We also created at that time a 457 plan for employees, incentivized that by, if they put in at least 4%, we put in 2% to get them to 12% defined contribution. That received council approval and has been in place since. Our pension, defined benefit pension that's closed is gone from 63 to almost 68%. It's now tracking upwards, and we've had conversations in the past and brought pension people in where our future liabilities have decreased tremendously, and we anticipate liabilities for the village related to defined benefit ending in, I believe it's 2042, to continue to give the flexibility for the view. But there's multiple municipal executives, myself included, that fundamentally disagree
because the state legislature took out that $250 million in an action recently for communities that are above 60%, including communities like Vicksburg that made the hard decision impacting people and to take ownership in their situation and improve it. So the communication, and I want the council aware, because I committed myself, it will not take, but to be part of the process, leading the effort of education and lobbying to the state legislators to reinsert that $250 million for communities that have self-addressed this issue. It's, in my opinion, once again, we're rewarding communities that do nothing and don't take on the problems within themselves or lay out a plan and wait for the rest of us statewide to bail them out. So I just wanted you to be aware that I've committed Vicksburg to be a part of that process, and it will start with our representatives who are excellent to work with, but I plan on putting a resolution in front of the council at one of the next two meetings that then we can formally send our representatives on the Senate and House side, articulating that the village certainly would like to see that $250 million put back into the budget for communities above 60%. And I'll be happy to answer any questions on that, but it's evolved since about Friday morning. It's picked up quite a bit of steam.
Well, thank you, Jim.
Okay, then just to notify the council, as aware, I'm going on vacation for a couple weeks, which means I'll miss, I think this is my second council meeting that I'll miss. My first one was when my father passed away, but Scott Sanderson will lead the March 6th meeting. Michelle Morgan will be here to assist, and Alex Lee is coming out of the bullpen. He's going to run the IT, and as we observed tonight, he'll have a high bar that he'll have to reach. I do hope he's on YouTube at some point listening to that. I know he's capable of it. Because our village clerk, I have already, he had an excellent opportunity to go to Maui. So certainly, so Alex was great in that. So just to give a heads up on the March 6th meeting, we'll also not have a hybrid component March 6th. So we'll encourage citizens, if they have to address the council, to attend in person. We will have the capabilities live through YouTube to watch, and we'll do some testing on the Zoom capabilities in hybrid, because I'll be zoomed in from Florida on the meeting. I just want to test it out before I commit to it that we can control Zoom in that fashion. So if you do see the agenda posted without the hybrid opportunity, that's why. So answer any questions there. I will be coming back for the 17th and be here for the March 20th meeting. That will have a work session at 6 and the regular meeting at 7. At 6 o'clock will be the new Village Hall presentation. So, and then we discussed a little bit of it, but just a review of the February 11th event. I definitely want to thank the council and Planning Commission and DDA board as well for what historically were expenses that municipalities in general, but smaller municipalities don't take on when like a chamber or an outside entity puts an event on. But we had approval and utilized appropriate downtown DDA area funds to purchase rent the 20 by 40 tent and have indoors with the heaters that people could go in, and if anyone was downtown, that was used pretty much throughout that event. Also, 4 porta-johns, and the ice sculptures. It was great weather to be out socializing in. Not the best weather for ice sculptures, but we certainly, those were purchased. Again, you want to create a traffic pattern of walkability. So that was one reason to try to get people walking around to see the different ice sculptures. And I think it deserves highlight that it was the planning commission and ultimately approved by the council to expense those funds that contributed to that event. I'd also like to highlight the work of police department. We had 3 officers in, as well as members of the DPW staff. And again, it's always a learning opportunity, but really focused in on the trash, and we're kind of getting down. I don't know if people notice, but we don't just put barricades out on entry points into this, but we put our heavy equipment out,
Yes.
blocking all the streets and that as well. So I just thought it was a fantastic event, and I saved the last shout out of gratitude and thanks to this new leadership in the Vicksburg Chamber. The Chamber's been pretty silent the last few years, but they've really, in their regular meetings and this event, and they really set the bar high for themselves for the next one. And I look forward to that. So thank you from us and the staff to the council and chamber for that. It really, and I've had just a ton of positivity from the businesses at what it means to them, and the participants. I mean, just look at pictures and smiling faces. So I'll pause there and answer any questions or listen to comments.
Thank you, Jim. Anything for staff?
If I could.
Yeah.
It's sad that we have to put the heavy equipment there, but we all realize what happened, a year ago, I think, in Wisconsin at a parade, and so it's essential that we take care of security. And so the one thing I wanted to say, Scott, as chief, I really appreciate, I watched the officers walk around, and it's a testament to our commitment to community policing. They were out there smiling. I didn't feel that there was, this police presence. Instead, you really felt like it was part of, they were part of the event, which I think was really, really cool to see. So just wanted to give you that acknowledgement. I think it was really nice.
Yeah, it could have been them in the Instagram ice sculpture. The three officers smiling. No, I agree with you. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to add to that, I work in Kalamazoo, well, I work from home, but I work with a group in Kalamazoo, and a few of them came out for Vicksburg Village and Christmas in the Village. A lot more of them came out for this last Iceberg Festival. And now I've got somebody from Battle Creek that's looking for a place over here in Vicksburg to live. So it's, the word is getting out, like you said, getting those people for these summer events to curiosity to bring them into town. And then I get a lot of feedback about the really cute shops and the food and just the entire atmosphere. Kudos to the chamber for pulling off such a great day weather-wise too. I mean, I think that really, it really brought a lot more people out. Yeah, not great on the ice sculptures, but overall, it was a really nice day.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. Anything else? We'll jump to the committee reports. I don't think the tree committee met, did they? Did Parks and Rec next week? I think there's a lot going on next week as Cats and South County are yet to come this end of this month. So the Planning Commission, I believe, yes?
Yeah, we met last week, actually 4 things briefly for the council. Village manager gave an update on the village hall as we heard before. The bids are out and those will be brought in March. I believe, Jim, if we're still on track for that. Kalamucha from McKenna actually addressed a couple things. First was that we reviewed at kind of a high level the 19 questions that are out for the master plan. very, very interesting responses that we got back. There's sometimes you scratch your head because you see a group answer it one way and you see a group answer it the other. But considering the current political state of our country right now, it made all the sense in the world. But it's really, really neat to see the level of engagement and the responses that are back, and even there's some demographic information as well. I think when we have a chance to have it presented to us, it's gonna be really interesting to digest. Jim, I don't know how far to go down the Apple Knockers variance, but I'll just simply say that Apple Knockers is looking to, update their building, and through that, we're realizing that they're asking for a variance. And, they're looking to actually take part of their deck and make it into more of a kitchen area, if I remember correctly, Jim. Is that right?
Yeah, the front towards the roadway and a little bit towards the water where the garage overhang type
Okay.
cover is.
The interesting thing through this is that we found out that there is actually an ordinance that says a building can't be within 100 feet of water. Well, I don't know about you, but if you look around this town, there's a whole lot of buildings. And actually, Kyle came back, and I believe the number is presently over 100 buildings that we've identified. So we kind of opened something up here that as we're exploring this variance request, that we probably need to address something a little bit larger. So more to come on that. Jim, I'm not sure, did I catch
No, that
correctly?
captures it. I think it highlights, because what also we're diving into as a staff, that will ultimately go through the planning commission with a recommendation to the council, is, let's face it, just like a lot of small villages, we have ordinances that have been on the books for 50-plus years, some of them. Very antiquated in modern progressive thinking is in the areas of parking restrictions. So you'll see a presentation coming forward on, the days of needing a sea of asphalt are kind of over, and where autonomous vehicles are coming and that. So some type of presentation on a new parking ordinance. Though it's cloudy like everything else, like Rick says, we discover that you can't build within 100 feet of water. And we didn't know how to tell in the hundreds of people that we have allowed to build over the course of history of this town. But as well, when we look at drive-throughs, we have drive-throughs in town, in banks, we've had drive-throughs in coffee shops. Very impactful, that ability to attract future developers, so that will come in front of the council, I'm sure, among other things. So sorry to interrupt you, but it prompted my thought.
No, it's definitely rounded out the topic. DDA finances are up $7,300, which was nice to see. Anytime we get additional money in the fund, it's nice. And then, as Jim just did with us, he did give a preliminary discussion around the Iceberg Festival. It was, if I could, there's some addition, I wrote some notes, Jim, here that was collected from the discussion that happened. So it appears that, and Trustee Wagner might even be able to pipe in since he's part of the chamber. But the 500 of the passports were sold within 48 hours. 88% of those passports voted for the grilled cheese. So high level of participation by those that were there. 640 s'mores sold. I wish I was 641. Dr. Schremer, you're welcome. I chose not to. Mackenzie sold everything except one loaf of bread.
Wow.
That's when you know it's a good day, when your bakery only has one loaf of bread left over. And I believe this number is correct, and that is, I thought I heard 6 businesses mention they had their best Saturday or sales day ever. Obviously, it's great to hear. The increased trash receptacles I thought was really great, because that was the one comment that was made after the Christmas in the Village. And that's one of the things I actually was looking around for. I don't know about anybody else, but I really was looking, and I didn't see anything. It looked really nice. And as Jim said, there are no police issues, and it will be interesting. I think as we move forward, Jim said, as these things grow, we definitely are gonna have to have more support from food trucks, you know, in order to help, you know, feed the people that are there, wouldn't that make sense? So that was it, at the, planning commission meeting.
Thanks, Rick. South County Fire?
And hate for the interruption again, but it prompted my memory. This is the second meeting that we're announcing. There is a opening
Oh, yeah, thank
on
you.
the planning commission, and certainly can give applications for any citizen. This spot on the planning commission has to be a resident of the village of Vicksburg, but certainly taking applications, and we'll announce that again on March 6th.
I said so. Did Jim cut you off?
Oh.
It's the
You
manager's
said
fault.
fire, so I just, you know. Well, Rick stole my thunder. I wanted to let everybody know that I stopped down to the firehouse during the Iceberg Festival and saw the guys down there, and they were going through marshmallows like Grant took Richmond, so. So, yeah, they were very, very happy with the turnout of everybody. We had a meeting last week. On the docket was a resolution to purchase the new apparatus. We had a finance meeting, and I apologize for not being here 2 weeks ago. I was ill, so I wasn't able to give a full report. I gave just a thumbnail to President Frisbee to tell you, but we did have a meeting that Thursday after our council meeting, the finance committee. We had some questions on the numbers that we had in front of us. I took that after having discussions with President Frisbee and Manager Mallory, and then had more discussions because I realized that Schoolcraft Township's representative is not going to be there for the meeting. And the bylaws currently for the fire authority is if a member is not there, they don't get a vote. Even if they have an alternate sit in on the board meeting, they don't get a vote. Schoolcraft Township is the largest user of this authority as far as number of calls go. So I got in contact with our chairperson and told her that I couldn't support the resolution, mainly because our representative from Schoolcraft Township was not going to be present, and I didn't think it was right for them to be basically left out of a vote when we were going to be looking at expending over $800,000 for a vehicle. So I did make the motion to table it. The resolution at the meeting is going to be tabled at least until next month. In the meantime, there are going to be some serious discussions being had within the authority. We've basically told the chief and the department, we know it's a need for the new vehicle. It's not a want, it's a need, we know that. You can't put a price tag on public safety, we know that. But we need to make sure that we have the taxpayers' back when it comes to expending that kind of money. So, as they say, more to come, so.
That was pretty clean. There was a lot more said in that meeting, but
Probably better left unsaid here.
no, it was a public meeting, and we all had our opportunity to speak, and I appreciate Carl's presence there and what he's taken on with that role. So that wraps up the committee reports. It takes us to citizen comments for any non-agenda items. So if there's a citizen that is here tonight or online that would like to speak, nobody online and nobody in the audience, so thank you very much. We'll move on, get this close to wrapping up to village trustees time. I'll start with Trustee Fields. Trustee Holmes?
Would like to do something that I do periodically, and that is acknowledge exceptionalism in our community. The Lady Bulldogs of the Vicksburg High School have a 20-0 run. I hope I just didn't Jim Nance them. It's not wide right, ladies, right down the middle. They got 2 games this week. Districts are next Monday. This truly is an opportunity to really be part of something special. These girls are that good. And so if you have a chance this week to watch them and support them, the district game is next Monday. They're the real deal, and they're gonna make a run. So let's get behind them and support them. I would only wish I had a daughter that was on the team. It'd be even more fun.
Are they playing at the Vicksburg High School on Monday night?
Yes.
Yeah, next Monday they are, yeah, for district.
Go Dogs, right on. Trustee Olson?
Yes, I'm here. Tim and I went to the Schoolcraft Township meeting the other night, and with the lady with the petition. And we learned quite a lot, and there's a lot of comments made, and that meeting went way too long. But during that meeting, we learned a few things about construction that's gonna be coming up down off of 131, down near the Consumers Concrete Plant near Michigan Avenue, 131. And I don't know how much you guys have heard about it, but I was shocked to hear it. 4 doctors have bought the property. There's a pond, cabin up on the hill, house up on the hill, and I don't know how many acres it was. Some godly amount of acres.
Almost 400 or the.
So I thought that's what they said, it was 400, and they're talking about putting a hotel in there, a water park, campgrounds, you name it. And they are concerned about the traffic, and they're also concerned about the sewer system, and sewer and water. So that's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on too, because one way or another, it's gonna affect us. They're either gonna wanna tap into our sewer system, or else they're gonna wanna tap into Three Rivers. And after my conversation with Mayor Lowry, Three Rivers is putting a clamp on it. They're handling all of Constantine's right now, and they don't wanna take on it anymore. So that's something that we're all gonna have to keep an eye on. Also learned about the possible roundabout at Osterhout Portage. Didn't know about that. That's what they're talking. They're also talking the one here on 23rd Street and TU Avenue. That's been tabled until next year. So, once again, we're gonna have to be concerned about that. If you're coming in on V Avenue, Tim might have seen it, Ryan might have seen it. There's some of the trees out here next to the cornfield have now got red tags on them. So the county's probably gonna be taking those out. I'd like to know when. We've got messages and that into Kalamazoo County Road Commission to find out what's going on. But I wanna know when they're gonna take those out, because we're gonna have to be keeping an eye on it for traffic in and out of the village. But how many more in the area they're gonna be taking out? January 15th, I told you folks that I witnessed an accident on Shaver Road by Sugarloaf Lake. I was contacted by an attorney today. I made a statement, and I got an update on it too. I thought the woman's arm was broken. It was not. She is lucky to be alive. Her husband, walking next to her with a dog, grabbed her and yanked her to the side. So instead of getting hit head on by the car, she bounced off the mirror and the side panel of the door. She's got a very badly bruised arm. Thank God it wasn't broken. And she's got torn ligaments in her ankle. So, like I said, I did make a statement to the attorney today up in Portage. Driver was cited. So, she has not yet gone to court on that. Also today, very busy day, I went to Centerville, Michigan, and yes, I went to Yoder's. And yes, I'm having ribs for dinner tonight, and I'm having donuts in the morning. So, but I spoke at the Centerville Fairgrounds. They have a very big garage sale event every year. They pack people in, like you never saw. 8,000 to probably 12,000 people will come to this event. With my urging, they've now expanded that, and we're gonna have 3 a year instead of 1. So May, June, and July, that's gonna happen. It may not affect us, but it's something in the area that's gonna draw people in. I wanna say my prayers and thoughts for all the MSU students. I learned today that MSU is gonna pay all their medical expenses. I was concerned about, you couldn't get me away from the TV because I used to have an office in that neighborhood. And I also had an office on Grand River. So I got to know a lot of the students and a lot of the business people when I was up in Lansing years ago. prayers and best wishes for President Carter and his family. My brother-in-law used to work for the U.S. government, and he has met every president from Carter on up. And his last job, his boss was Hillary Clinton. So our thoughts are greatly with the president and his family. And lastly, I was very much impressed with the Iceberg Fest. I got there late. I got there about 4:30 after I got out of work. And everybody was comparing it to the Christmas parade, the amount of people that was downtown. So obviously, kudos, Ryan, good idea. Let's come up with more like that. So, thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Trustee Wagner.
Well, on that note, thanks to the incredible and exceptionally talented Chamber of Commerce Board for that Iceberg Festival. I mean, I'm just one part of that puzzle, and the folks there, they're committed to Vicksburg, is all that I can say, and everything they're doing is with the passion and the excitement and integrity to move things forward. So just happy to be a part of the team, but it's a really talented group of folks, so loving to see what they get to do. One of the highlights I wanted to make sure to announce about the Iceberg was that if we estimated on some rough professionally drawn figures, if we had 600 visitors to the village, that's an economic impact of $50,000 just for that single event, that time frame of the afternoon. So, I mean, we can extrapolate out from there the actual economic impact we had to our businesses at that point, and it's significant. As we've said, a lot of businesses had some of their best days in sales during that event, so it's just one more reason to keep on making more of these events and really to just encourage everyone to visit and see what we've got to offer and attract more businesses and more visitors. And that's just a really exciting part, is getting to see the actual benefits of what we have to put together for the people, for the businesses. But one such individual that the chamber brought in was Phil Mann, the magician. He said that he would absolutely love to come back anytime he was available. It was one of the best crowds he's ever had a chance to work. If you didn't see him on the stage where the fashion show was later held, it was an enormous crowd, filled up almost all of Prairie Street in front of the Hideaway. All kids, adults, families, smiling faces everywhere, and everybody just absolutely, in awe, having a great time with that show. So he said he's going to be back anytime we want, and that's just, that's thanks to Rick Fisher and the folks at Fab Magic, who helped to put that together and bring that element to what we have to offer, and it's just another family-friendly activity that we continue to promote. But just an exceptional event, and I think everyone's done a great job, and the support of the village is making that happen, so couldn't be more thankful. As we talked about previously, changing gears onto the bonds going to issue and the sewer projects that we're moving forward with, just echoing my earlier comments on we've got to do what we think is right for the village for now and into the future, and sometimes those hard decisions in the immediate term, they're not always comfortable to make, but we've got to be confident doing the right thing going forward for everybody involved, and not just ourselves, but that's the commitment we make to our community. So couldn't be more proud to be a part of this group of talented and excellent folks that have that vision in mind to be the best. So that's it for me today.
You missed something. Who won?
Oh, well, that announcement. Who won the grilled cheese?
The grilled cheese and soup?
The grilled cheese and soup. So we had both a judge's choice as well as a first, second, and third place for popular voting. And both the judges and the first place popular vote was Main Street Pub.
Good for Mike.
Yep, so Mike and Lindsay and the whole crew over there, and I made sure to harass them on Facebook when they're talking about their victory. I said, congratulations, but what are you going to be doing for next year to make sure you win again? And he said he's already in the kitchen coming up with ideas. So that's the bar that we've got set, and I think we're going to get even more restaurants involved next year. It's going to be a pretty high demand item.
Here in Main Street Pub, I think it's a highlight too of the direction the village is going, as they've taken on, you can see professionalized comic show once a month now at Main Street Pub, and quite full. It's been sold out 3 shows in a row, and so pretty good stuff here in the village.
If you're gonna add more restaurants, I'd have to tell you, I had the privilege to be one of the judges. That's a lot of grilled cheese sandwich to eat.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I have not met a lot of cheese that I don't like, but if you're gonna add to that, we might have to work.
Portion control is item number one
Very
for
important.
next event, yeah,
Very important.
absolutely. Great point, Wendy.
Well, my favorite was the whole sandwich. Trustee Reister.
Well, I was very excited to get these two letters from Gilbert and Ivy and from the Vicksburg Cultural Arts Center. It shows that the people in this community want to promote things, and I was really pleased. I think these were probably letters you needed to submit, correct?
Yes, and I've received, Vickers has one, the Hideaway has one, and there'll be
Okay.
others coming that actually, and you'll get a copy of those
Okay,
at
well, I
the
was
next
just
meeting.
very pleased to see that they were willing to go out of their way to do that. I think that's going to help us a great deal, so thank everybody who was willing to write the letters for us.
And last but not least, President Pro Tem Keller, I. Not skipping me? No, sir.
I'm good, thank you.
Skipped himself. Yeah, I'll make it short too. I had an opportunity and the honor to speak, a year and a half ago when we did State of the Village address. And you know, it was real simple. You do good and good will follow, right? And this is what's happening with our community by doing all the right things. So again, real quick, thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. You know, we've got a bunch of young guns on there, good visionaries doing the right thing, and it's exciting, but, you know, it all falls back as, and I don't say this sarcastically, it takes a village, you know, it takes DPW, it takes our law enforcement members and the staff to, as all of them came together with this plan and made it happen. So my thanks to all of them involved, so. With that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.